like Vrinda Devi. I know I can't be like Vrinda Devi, but is it any place in spiritual order that I can be like, do like Vrinda Devi do?
Well, that may not be your position, but you can aspire for it.
No, I can't be, I know, but is it possible to be like...
If that's your position, yeah.
It can be?
Assisting, yeah.
Yeah, for example.
If that's what you're supposed to do. You'll find out later.
I know like in Shastra, one jiva can have 1020 swarupas spiritual world.
1020.
Yeah, one jiva, 1000. You can be in Krishna's friend, and a bee, fly, butterfly, whatever. You want to be in a boat, whatever. 1020. I heard that. And the Krishna Lila, Chaitanya Lila, and whatever.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I don't know about 1020. I never heard that, but you can expand into different forms for different pastimes. Yeah.
Well,
Anyway, whatever you want and whatever you're supposed to do, it will happen.
But
we should
cultivate our tendency to...
at least from the stage of nishta or ruchi, you can start generally. If the taste is naturally there, you can cultivate it. If it's not there, it's a little artificial to try to force it to be there. To be there, yeah. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, we left last night, Krishna was listening to the prayers of Nalkuvera Manigreva, and he was laughing while they were offering prayers. And the reason he was laughing was because they were telling him that the whole world is under his control and that everyone is bound by the modes of nature. And he was bound up by the rope of his mother, and he thought that was really funny. So he was laughing. And then he thought, it's not really polite to laugh because they think I'm laughing at them. And they're my guests, so I shouldn't laugh. And Krishna was glorifying Narada Muni by explaining how by his association they got this position, and now, even though they didn't deserve it, they were getting it. Krishna was giving them love. And they had come to the point, they'd become purified, so they'd come to the point where they wanted love, whereas before they didn't. And that's why Narada Muni couldn't give it to them, because they weren't ready. Now, living in Braj, and now engaging in this pastime, they wanted love, and that's what they asked Krishna. They asked Krishna for love. Right? So, I think there's a little bit of the story left, and then we're going to begin the next chapter when all the cowherd boys, all the cowherds, men and women, come out, having heard the explosion and worried about Krishna, to see what happened. And actually Krishna hid from them. You know why he hid? Because the mortar was up against the trees. And they could see that mortar against the trees. That means he did it. And he was already afraid of being punished by his mother. And you may remember that when his mother had the stick, he was very afraid of that stick. And he's thinking now, I really made a mess here, and who knows now what's going to happen. And his friends were also telling him, you might get into a lot of trouble for what you've done. So, something amazing happens in this story. We get to learn a bit about Nanda Maharaj because Nanda Maharaj came when the tree fell. And there's a whole Lila with Krishna and Nanda Maharaj. And Mother Yasoda backs off. And it's just Krishna and Nanda Maharaj. And so we get to focus a little bit on Nanda Maharaj's love. And an amazing pastime comes up of Krishna's separation from his mother, because when the whole pastime ended, he was going into this mood of sulking and angry with his mother. So he didn't want to see her. And Nanda Maharaj felt bad that Yasoda tied up Krishna, so she didn't want to see Krishna, she didn't want to see anybody. So Krishna was with Nanda Maharaj. He didn't want to see his mother, and his mother didn't want to come out. And there was this very intense scene of separation because they were, and Krishna was feeling anger towards his mother. But at a certain point, he changed. And when he changed, she changed because she could feel what he felt. Whatever he feels, she feels. And when he switched his mood, she felt it, and then they came together. And it's an amazing scene. And when I was reading this scene, I was just thinking, that would be so nice if these scenes could be put into major motion pictures, professionally done major motion pictures, and you could really, really enter into the emotion of what's going on, because love of Krishna is so intense. And these pastimes are meant to help us experience, or at least get some understanding and also some experience of what that love is. Of course, we can't directly experience it, but indirectly, as a reflection of their love, we can get some understanding. And that this story is very intense, really intense. Anyway, yesterday I didn't have my glasses, and as a result, I missed some things. I need to find out where we left off. Okay. Yes. So, Krishna was thinking, he was talking about Narada Muni, he was telling Nalkuvera and Manigreva, you're so fortunate. And then Krishna was thinking, it's amazing that Narada Muni wanted to save them, that he was thinking about them, and it shows the love and affection of the devotee for the conditioned soul. And when he was thinking about how much Narada Muni wanted Nalkuvera and Manigreva to connect with him, he was just overwhelmed by love for Narada. And also, he continued to bless. He just, Krishna didn't hold back any blessings for Nalkuvera and Manigreva. So he was appreciating, Narada Muni, and then he was, come closer. Turn your phones off and come closer. Then I don't have to yell so much. So they were asking for blessings, and Krishna was saying, just see how blessed you already are. Like you've already got so many blessings, so you really don't even have to ask, because now you're here with me, and what more could you ask other than that? Of course, their mood was, now that they were purified, that they wanted to continue pure devotional service. So that's kind of their mood, but Krishna's saying, just look, you've got so much. And then, because Nalkuvera and Manigreva had initially offended Narada Muni, and Narada Muni didn't take offense but blessed them, then Krishna, now he's telling them, be careful, don't offend sadhus. Because look, what could happen to you if you offend sadhus? You'll lose your bhakti. So you offended Narada, don't ever do this again. So he gave him a little warning. Now, right at this point, Krishna could feel the cowherd boys were restless. He was getting restless, and he could feel that the family, his mother, his father, the elders, they're all getting restless. So he wanted to end the pastime. So he kind of, okay, it's time to go. So he made a gesture, blessings, which kind of meant, okay, fun is over. Narada will fulfill your desires. And Krishna went into a mood of humility, and he actually didn't think that he could bless Nalkuvera and Manigreva. He's just thinking, I'm this little boy tied up by my mother, but Narada can bless you. So you will get Narada's blessings, always seek his blessings. And so he deferred the blessings to Narada. And generally, Krishna does that. He lets his devotees bless. Of course, when a devotee gives blessings, he's giving Krishna's blessings. So indirectly, it is Krishna. But he often lets his devotees do the blessing, and that glorifies the devotee. Samsara dava nala lila loka. The spiritual master gives blessings from the ocean of mercy. It's not his ocean, but he's a rain cloud, and he takes from it, and then he gives it. Like we distribute Prabhupada's books, we're giving blessings, we're giving mercy. It's his mercy. And whatever we teach is his mercy. And he's getting it also from the ocean of mercy. The ocean of mercy of his guru and his guru and his guru and the Mahaprabhu Nityananda, like that. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Yes. So this is what he said. By the grace of Narada, you have developed prema for me, and thus attained the topmost goal of life. Keep his grace, Narada Muni, always in your heart, and because I am always in his heart, you shall never be separated from me. Krishna then added, your material existence has now come to an end. So they got love for Krishna. And then Krishna says something interesting here. Krishna's in the heart of the devotee. So if you think of the devotee, you're thinking of Krishna because Krishna's there. If you think of Krishna, you're thinking of the devotee. If you think of the devotee, you're thinking of Krishna. As Prabhupada said, if you chant Hare Krishna, then all Krishna's associates are with him. So that if you chant, I'm there, and you're there, we're all associates, we're all together. And then the other way. You think of the devotee, Krishna's in his heart, and therefore you're thinking of Krishna. So devotee and Krishna go there. So now, what's happening now is Krishna's asking Nalkuvera and Manigreva to leave. And you know, you've come to Mayapur, you go to Vrindavan, and when it's time to leave, how do you feel? You feel good? No. You feel like crying, right? Or maybe you do cry. Yeah. So now, Krishna's saying it's time to go back to your home, your family's waiting for you, and they don't want to leave. I mean, would you want to leave? You're there, you're getting darshan of Krishna, of course not. And this is like, you've been waiting for 20,000 years for this to happen. Right? So, they started experiencing ecstatic symptoms. And they didn't want to leave, and they were feeling ecstasy, starting to feel separation. They circumambulated Krishna. They paid obeisances to the rope. Because as we learned yesterday, the rope is actually a living entity, and Krishna engaged the rope in the Lila. That's something really interesting happened. We'll read about later, but preview. You remember in the story that Mother Yasoda was getting ropes and ropes and ropes and piles of ropes and miles of ropes, and they're always short. Well, when Nanda Maharaj untied Krishna, all of a sudden on the ground were these miles of ropes. So somehow the miles of ropes had merged into that little rope, and when he untied Damodar, then he looked on the ground and there's all this rope. And he just looked at it, and he was so used to Krishna's miracles that he didn't really think much of it. He said, yes, I know my son is special, but how can you untie, 24 or 25 inches of rope, and then it turns into yards and yards and yards of rope? Krishna, he's not ordinary, so he doesn't do things. Like, why would he do things in an ordinary way? That would be so boring. It's like, if I can play the guitar really well, why would I not play it well? Why wouldn't I do something fancy? Play with my teeth, play upside down, play with my right hand, left hand, behind my back, if I can do that. But just to play it normally, it's not fun. Right? So Krishna can do so many amazing things, so he's going to do them. Otherwise, it's not fun for him and it's not fun for us. Right? Okay. So they bowed down, they looked back at Vrindavan, and they were really, they had Vrindavan ingrained in their heart, and they're feeling separation. And they went up. So in the movie, it's going to be like one of those Hindi movies, and they're just going to go up in the clouds, because that's how they went back. Okay. Okay, so now the demigods are gone. So now he doesn't have to be God. They knew he was God. Now he can just be a cowherd boy. And so now Krishna was pulling the mortar towards him. It was just, the event was over, so now he's having fun. He's pulling the mortar towards him, and he's kicking it back with his feet. And he's pulling the mortar, and he's kicking back with his feet. Now later his friends came, and they tried to move the mortar, and they couldn't. It was too heavy. So it looks like for him it's light, but he's Krishna. It's not light, but he's just playing with it. So now, it's really funny. Do you remember that Krishna had put a Shakti on the cowherd boys so they couldn't come down? They tried to come down, but they couldn't. He didn't want them down. But now he wants them down. This pastime is over. He wants them down. So then he signals for them to come down. Right? But they had this Shakti on them, so they're like, it was hard to come down, so they're like, okay, and they put all their energy and they kind of like fall over and roll. It was up on a hill. So, it was like this momentum, they're, okay, let's go. Because they were restrained before, woo! And some of them roll down the hill. Yeah. Okay. So now, the cowboys are also feeling separation because they've been away from Krishna for however long this took. So they're coming down and they're embracing him, and the two trees are on the ground. So they're walking on they're boys. They're playing, so they're walking along the trees. You know how you balance. So it's like this is their friend. He knocked these trees down. So we can play with the trees and we can play with him. So that's what they did. And they're saying, "Wow, you're safe. The trees didn't fall on you. But we're here now to protect you, because when your mother sees what happens, this could be heavy. So we're gonna help you. Like you think this was bad. Just wait." And they're joking with Krishna. She's going to tie you up to these trees now. And Krishna said, if she does, it's no problem, because I can pull mountains. And they're laughing. Yeah, right, you can pull mountains. He goes, you'll see. I'll show you. Just wait, I'll do it. So this way he was joking with his friends. You don't think I can? Just wait, you'll see. I'll pull a mountain. So you can see how Krishna and the cowherd boys, this is the rasa they have. It said, he said, not only will I move it, I'm going to lift it also. You just see, I'm going to do that.
Prabhu, the Mother Yasoda Krishna age like 4?
3.
3.
So then the cowherd boys saw what was going on. They saw these two beings. They said, all right, what's up with these two beings? Who were they? Krishna didn't really want to talk about it. He said, they're just tree spirits. He's like brushing it off. Yeah, just spirits. Where'd they go? They had a curse. The curse was over. They went home. And they said, but we saw you. They didn't topple the trees. You did it. We saw you. We saw you do it with the mortar. And then the boys are saying, well, we saw you talking to them. There's this big conversation going on, and they couldn't hear what was going on, but Nalkuvera Manigreva were offering prayers. So it's like, what's going on? What's going on? Krishna didn't want to deal with it. And so they're asking him the questions, and he says, he just completely diverts them. He goes, watch this, and he pushes the mortar with his feet. Like, let's start playing. And then they go to play, and they can't move it. It's like, wow. So he rolls the mortar away, and let me try, and they can't do it. Okay. So now, what happens now? Well, obviously, everybody heard the crack. That big sound was like a Brahmastra, a thunderbolt, an atomic bomb. Everybody heard it. It was so loud. The cracking of the tree, and the tree falling on the ground. So now, everybody's coming out, and sometimes when these things happen, there's rumors that Krishna has been hurt, or Krishna has been killed. So they're out. And Krishna knows they're coming. And he knows they're going to see the mortar. And it's like, he doesn't want to be around when they come. So, they're all thinking, all right, was it a demon? Was it Trinavarta coming back for revenge? And they're looking up and they say, no, but or they're saying, was it thunder? Was it lightning? They're looking at the sky. Well, the sky is clear. And they were like confused. Anyway, some of them thought the trees had fallen on Krishna, right? But that was the message they got. So, with this message was given to Mother Yasoda, she was coming, and she's got this message that these trees, we have to come save Krishna from the jaws of death. So she didn't know what actually happened, but she heard. We have to save Krishna from the jaws of death. And as soon as she heard that, she fainted. She couldn't deal with that. She just immediately just fell over on the spot. The trees have fallen on Krishna. That's what she heard. What happened was, she fainted, she got up, she heard again the trees had fallen on Krishna. She fainted again. Yeah. So, everybody ran down. Nanda Maharaj came, and they're all like trying to figure out what happened. You know the story, it's in the Krishna book. So they're like, are there any demons around? How did the trees fall? Speculating this way and this way. They have sticks and things. Well, if there's any demons around, we'll take care of them. Now, when the boys saw the village coming, they didn't want to... Krishna didn't want to have to deal with anybody accusing him of knocking the trees over. So you know what they did? Trees were on the ground, and these trees were full of leaves. The boys crawled under the trees, under the leaves, so they couldn't be seen. So everybody came down. They're trying to figure out what's going on, and all the boys are under the trees. There's a picture here, I think. Can you see it? Mm. So the boy said, look it, everybody's coming to see what happened. You're going to be in big trouble now. So they hid. That was the idea. So now what's really good for the cowherd boys is they're all under the trees, they're lying with Krishna, and they're all lying around with Krishna. So they're all ecstatic because they're touching Krishna. So they get to just lie with Krishna under the trees. Shh, don't make any noise. Like we do when we're kids, we've done something wrong or we're hiding. But this is with Krishna. So it's a whole different ball game. So they were all ecstatic. And they're asking one another, how do you feel? Are you cold? Are you uncomfortable? He says, no, I feel ecstatic. The other one says, yeah, I feel ecstatic also. Okay. So now the adults are there trying to figure out what's going on. They're looking for footprints. They're doing like private investigation, Is it someone who flew in? As I said before, was it the weather? Any suspicious creature? So, Nanda Maharaj was a cowherd man, but he was the king of the cowherd men, so he had soldiers. So then one soldier, he noticed there's a mark of the mortar. It left a mark. He said, wait a minute, this mortar has come down like this. So they all looked where Krishna had rolled the mortar. And the mortar was under the tree, and they could see some effulgence coming from the mortar. Because it's, Krishna had empowered it with his effulgence. But where they had tracked the mortar, at this point, all they could see it was coming to the trees, but it was far away, so they couldn't know for sure that it was actually the mortar that did it. And they see the mortar move. They notice the mortar's moving, and then one gopi says, elderly gopi says, because a lot of people didn't know that he was tied up to that mortar. And she says, Yasoda tied Krishna to that mortar. And so now, okay, the mortar moved and he was tied to it. So now evidence is mounting. So the boys were listening. And they're saying to one another, uh-oh, they've seen the mortar. Now they've got us. What should we do now? Krishna said, we're not in danger. Just stay down. So Krishna threw his yogamaya potency on them, so they would forget about the mortar and think of some other reason for the trees to fall. He just wanted to divert their attention from the mortar. So he threw this yogamaya potency, so protected himself. So under his will, they start talking. How could they fall? Was it a storm? Was it rain? Was it wind? There's no elephant tracks here. There's no herd of animals. Some demon, rakshasas, demigods. I don't know who it is. Tribals gathering firewood. But they never anymore talked about the mortar. Finally, Yasoda comes and says, where's my son? Where's my son? At that point, nobody was even asking, where's Krishna? Isn't that interesting? They were just like absorbed in the trees. And it was only when Yasoda came that the question of where is Krishna even was asked. Interesting, right? So now, What happens now? So, at this point, Krishna realized, Yasoda's here, she's asking about me. Now, if I hide, it's going to put her in anxiety. Now everybody's going to be looking for me, so I can't hide anymore. So, Yasoda's kind of going crazy now, because she can't find Krishna. So what happened? This is nice. Krishna's hiding. His mother's going crazy. Where is he? And he knows she's going crazy to see him. And because of her love, what happens? He can't hide. He wants to hide, but he can't hide now because her love is too strong. She wants to see him so much that love overpowers him. And his plan was to hide. And he comes out because of her love. So again, this shows how Mother Yasoda is controlling Krishna by her love. And that Krishna cannot withstand the force of her love. He's a puppet of her love. So that's a very important point, I think. So, Krishna didn't want to come out of the bushes and have them see under the trees, because then they'd have to defend themselves, or they, why are you hiding under there? And he wanted to be proactive. So when everyone's back was to the trees, he said, okay, let's run out. And so they all jumped out. So they wouldn't know where they're coming from. And so Krishna came out and he was just playing. So it just looked like he was just playing. And they said, look, there's Krishna, there's our boys. Like, nothing had really happened to them. Now, to trying to think, okay, how did Krishna just show up out of nowhere? What's the connection between the mortar and the trees? Because they're thinking, it doesn't seem like it'll be anything else but the mortar. At first we said they didn't make the connection, now they're making the connection. But they're thinking, but how could Krishna be responsible for this? Because the mortar's too heavy. So they're just having this discussion. So now, Krishna's playing with the mortar, but that was his way of showing Mother Yasoda he was still mad at her. So he said, look, I'm tied up to this mortar, so I'm mad at you. So he's kind of diverting her attention.
Can I just ask you a question?
You can.
You said the boys were running behind, came out of the tree, but Krishna was still tied at the mortar.
But they all came out. He just came.
Still there, and Krishna was still under the tree.
They all came out under the tree together.
He was running out, and Krishna was tied at the mortar.
I don't know. Perhaps they were running, but they got out. Yeah, he just pulled the mortar. It's no problem. Well, the mortar pulled itself. So now Yasoda's thinking, well, maybe he did pull the tree down. And she's thinking, well, this is very interesting. She's thinking, this is possible. And then she's thinking, I tied him to the mortar, and he could have been killed by those trees, and it would have been my fault. So now she's going into this remorseful mood. What if the trees had fallen on him? She became immobile and speechless. What if they had struck him? she started almost fainting again, and then Nanda Maharaj rushed out. And so what's happening now is Nanda Maharaj is coming to see what's happening, and Yasoda is like, she's going into this mood of total shame for having tied Krishna up to the mortar. Because, what have I done? I was just, thinking to punish him, but this was really a bad decision. And so she kind of goes to the background now, and Nanda Maharaj comes, and now the scene turns to him. And for the rest of this chapter, almost to the end, she's just in the background. And Krishna's mad at her for being tied up, and she's regretting that she tied him up, and so their relationship starts to distance. And Krishna doesn't want to go to her. He always goes to her. Child always goes to the mother, and now he's going to the father. So this introduces a whole new scene. So she was actually crying and trembling. And she was just standing immobile. And all the Vrajabasis are thinking, who tied Krishna up? And why would they do this? Because most of them were gone when it happened. There was the Deepali festival, they were gone. So they didn't know Krishna was tied, and now they're thinking, why would anybody tie this little boy to a mortar? It's like if I go to your house and I see there's a rope around your child's stomach and you've tied him to a tree. It's like, first thing you would think is, well, you're weird. Your child's not a dog. So Nanda Maharaj comes, and he says, it looks like the mortar was the cause of this incident. And everybody's thinking, how is it possible? Because Krishna, now he's playing with the mortar, but he's playing like he can't move it. So they're thinking, he's tied to the mortar. How could the mortar move? He can't move it. Look, he's playing with it and it's not moving. So they're like, trying to figure this out. So they're thinking, all right, it's not possible. They're thinking, he's tied to the mortar, but it's not possible he could have done it. So some demon must have done it. Maybe push the mortar. They're just, they're analyzing it. Maybe someone like Trinavarta. But then they're thinking, wait a minute. All these kids are just playing like everything's okay. And if everything is okay, then it wouldn't have been a demon, because if it was a demon, all the kids would be very upset and afraid, and you could see that something traumatic had happened. They'd have post-traumatic stress disorder, right? Post-traumatic, PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, they would have about post-traumatic stress disorder? That's what happens after you marry the wrong person. Yes? You marry the wrong person, you have post-traumatic stress disorder. You marry the right person, you have post-traumatic ecstasy. Okay. So they're trying to figure this out. It doesn't make sense. So they couldn't really accept that it was the mortar. It didn't make sense to them. So what they did was, they were just like happy that Krishna was alive, and so everybody would come and hug him and kiss him to see that he was okay. And so this is what the women were doing. And then the men, they started saying, we moved here to go cool, to get away from danger, and now look at it, it's happening. It's still happening. So this was an impetus to move to Vrindavan. Because I said, we tried to get away from danger, but danger's still here. So Nanda's brother, I think it doesn't mention his name, but I believe it's Upananda. He's very smart. Upananda said, look, we're trying to figure out what's going on. The boys were here. They saw it all. So ask them. You know that from the Krishna book, right? So the boys just described exactly what happened. There was a mortar, Krishna pulled the mortar, and then these two beings came out with helmets and jewelry, and like that. They bowed down to Krishna, they circumambulated him, they prayed to him, and then they went. And all the elderly cowherd men are like, yeah, right. That didn't happen. There's no way that happened. And the boys are saying, it did happen. We saw it. They're 3 years old, so you don't have to believe them. But the boys were saying, no, that's what happened. So nobody believed them. Would you believe it? So they had this big, long conversation. The boys explained everything. The boys are saying, the ropes were pulling, the mortar was moving itself, the rope and the mortar were talking to one another, they were effulgent, all these things. And they don't know that Krishna's God, so what are they going to think? This doesn't make sense. So then, Krishna's hearing all this, so then Krishna was concerned, and Krishna's concern was what the boys were describing would indicate that he's God, right? If they were to believe this, then that would mean he's God. That would be the worst thing for Krishna. If the residents of Vraj found out he was God or thought he was God, there'd be nothing worse than that for Krishna. Because, what?
Fun over.
Yeah. The fun's over, the love's over. Everything's over. So Krishna thrives on the fact that they don't know he's God, so he can receive their pure affection. So he didn't want them to know that he's God. That was like the last thing. So, what did he do? So he started playing like a little kid, making noises, pulling the mortar, but not being able to move it. And he just wanted to show that he was a little kid. But there was another problem. So that diverted them. But the Brahmins came. Now the Brahmins, they understood Krishna's position. And they were remembering Garga Muni's prediction. You remember Garga Muni's prediction? Who Krishna was, and he was in different incarnations, he appeared in different colors. So this is how the Brahmins are thinking. Said, Garga Muni prophesied him to be like Narayan. So he could have broken the trees. Now, the point is, the Vrajabasis couldn't think that way. But the Brahmanas could. You know why they could think that way? Because their love was weaker. Because when your love is stronger, you can't see Krishna in any other way other than your son or your friend or your lover. But the Brahmins' love was weaker. So because they were weaker, they could see. They had a glimpse into Krishna's greatness. Isn't that interesting? It was a weaker kind of love, and therefore they could see. That's amazing. Then they looked at Krishna playing, and then they became overwhelmed with love, and then they said, no, he couldn't have knocked the trees over. So first they're saying he could have, it all makes sense. Now the love increases, they get covered, and then they say, no, that's not possible. So it's a good example of how that love in Vrindavan works to cover you. Isn't it? What do you think? Good example? So what was happening is, because the Brahmins were associated with the residents of Braj, their love infected them. So even though they had some knowledge, but that love just overcame them by association. So actually the Brahmins were increasing their love. And so they stopped believing that story of the boys. So now, nobody really resolved what happened, or how it happened. And now Nanda Maharaj, as the father, he's going into action, and he wants to make sure Krishna's well. He's looking at Krishna, he's rubbing his hands down his body, make sure that there's no scratches and Krishna's okay. And then he's just playing with him. He said, "You're so strong." And then Nanda Maharaj, he didn't know that Krishna had been bound, and he said, "It's really strange that Yasoda bound you." It was like he didn't like that, and Krishna knew he wouldn't like it. And when Krishna was inaugurating the pastime, he made sure Nanda wasn't there, because he wanted to get tied up for this pastime, and he knew if Nanda were there, she would never be able to tie him up. He wouldn't allow it. So now he's back, and he's kind of in that mood. Why and how and what's going on? How could she do this? So that's what's going on now. He says, "I just don't, this is such a surprise. This is unprecedented. You made a little offense, and this is an unprecedented punishment for a little offense." Now, Nanda Maharaj wasn't doubting Mother Yasoda's love. That wasn't what he was doubting. He was just doubting that this was the right thing to do. And he wasn't really happy about it. So now you have 2 against 1. Because Krishna's not happy about it. Nanda Maharaj is not happy about it. And so now Yasoda's feeling really bad. And she's already, retracted a little bit. And now she's going to retract more because of this. She's feeling bad about it. And now Nanda's feeling bad about it. So it's like rubbing salt on the wound. Yes?
Well, maybe it was the normal practice to tie the children to the mother, because they don't have such now some area with borders, like you put the kid and let.
No, but they had the whole courtyard. Anyway, no, it wasn't. Definitely wasn't, because she never did it before. And if it were, Nanda wouldn't be saying this is not right. Nanda would be saying this is normal. It's not normal. So anyway, so he was telling Krishna, I'm sorry your mother did this. Sometimes that happens in a family. If the father doesn't agree with the punishment, and he'll just the kids are punished, locked in their room, and they'll go in the room and say, "Come out, let's play." "No, we can't, we're punished, forget it." So he'll circumvent the punishment. So he's telling Krishna, I don't really approve of this, and And Krishna was also happy that his father wasn't upset, because he thought they're going to figure out I knocked the trees down and they're going to be upset. So everything was good between them. And then he said, well, I was rejected by my mother, so you're my only shelter. So now they're bonding, like, immensely. So anyway, so Nanda, he looks at Mother Yasoda, kind of like saying, can I untie the knot? Just nodding to her. And so he untied the knot, let him free, which only a bhakta could do. So Mother Yasoda, she smiled and like that. Then Nanda embraced Krishna, he smelled his head, covered his cheeks with kisses, and then, as I said, the rope fell to the ground. And how long was it? It was as long as all the ropes together in Gokul. And Nanda Maharaj was so absorbed in love that when he saw these ropes, it just like, it didn't register. It didn't want to register. So this next chapter is like heavy. If we talk about it, I don't know if you're going to be able to sleep. I mean, it's really heavy. Like, well, he was giving you a preview. Now Krishna is with Nanda, and Yasoda is embarrassed. And she goes in the palace, and she goes in her room, and she locks herself, and she doesn't come out. And Krishna is mad at her, and now Krishna's with his father for about 3 days. And Mother Yasoda can feel Krishna's anger, and it's making her feel worse. And she doesn't want to come out, she doesn't want to face anybody. 3 days are separated. And Mother Yasoda is like experiencing intense anxiety. So anyway, why don't we stop here and see if there are any questions or comments. I think we'll have to wait till next Saturday to read that story. The story's almost over. This next chapter is the end, and there's some few other things we can discuss. But this next chapter is like, it's so heavy. The separation between Krishna and his mother, you know. Mother Yasoda, when Krishna goes out to herd the cows, Mother Yasoda can't bear the separation. It drives her crazy. Did you know that? When he goes out, kind of like sometimes when a child goes to school, it's the first day and it's the first time the child is away from the parents. So the child feels separation. The parents feel separation. Sometimes the parents don't. They feel good. But sometimes it's hard. It's the first time they've actually been away. So, just for Krishna to go away to herd the cows for half a day, it's very intensely painful for Mother Yasoda. And now, 3 days they've been away. And not only that, but she's feeling Krishna's angry with her, and she's feeling remorseful for what she had done. So it's really, really intense. And nobody can get her to come out of the room. And she's feeling, the person she loves more than anything, she's feeling his anger towards her. So that's heavy. Isn't it? Yeah. So next week we'll talk about the reunion. The reunion it's really heavy to read about it, talk about it. So, we'll see if you have any questions on Facebook. Pushkaraksha says Krishna is very sensitive to the love of his devotees. Sensitive in the sense that he knows how to churn the love. It's like every move he makes, every step he takes, he's churning the love. You could write a new song. Every move he makes, every step he takes, he's churning the love. He's conscious of what he's doing. And he's churning the love. The devotees are experiencing the love. And then you and I are hearing about it, and we're coming closer to loving him by hearing about it. And this is how we develop our love of Krishna, by hearing about those who love Krishna. Because it transforms the heart. And it purifies us of lust. Like in the material world, we're contaminated by our conception of love. And that's why the Shastra says, and Prabhupada has recommended, if you're contaminated by lust, hear about the Lilas of Radha and Krishna. And so some of us might think, well, it has the male-female aspect, so how would I be purified if there's still male and female? Well, the reason you become purified is because it demonstrates what pure love is. And the love that we have is contaminated with lust. So when you hold that pure love up to what you think is love, then you can see this is love and this isn't love. And this brings you closer to this kind of love. And so it brings you further away from lust. So that's what hearing about Krishna's Leelas does. Like when Uddhava went to Vrindavan, his love increased by hearing and by being with Yasoda, Nanda, and the other residents of Vrindavan. It infected his heart because he saw how much love they had. So he could understand. They have more love than I do. This is really love. You know, like you think you're good at something until you are with someone who's better, then you realize, oh, that's the standard. So we don't really know what love is because we don't have examples of it in the material world. We have reflective examples of it, but here you have the real example. Right? Yes? So Krishna, in extracting love from the hearts of his devotees, it teaches us what love is. Like when you think you love Krishna, just think Yasoda's love. You can't compare whatever love you have. And the love that Krishna has, or the devotee has for Krishna, that's explained in the last verse of Shishashtakam. It doesn't matter what you do to me. In the material world, if you know anything about psychology, it does matter how you treat your partner in terms of the relationship of love. That one of the principles of relationship between male and female is you try to satisfy the needs of your partner and they try to satisfy your needs, and that's what makes love. But in the 8th verse of Shishashtakam, basically Radharani is saying, not only if you don't satisfy my needs, even if you harm me, I still love you. So that's a different kind of love. Right? Isn't it? Yes? I mean, you wouldn't find that in the material world. They're just being abused constantly. If you're abused constantly, you can't keep loving that person because that's not an impetus to love. But even if Krishna abuses you, that love is he's so attractive and love is so deep and it's so, even to be abused by Krishna is transcendental ecstasy. So it's just totally different. So by hearing about it, we become Krishna conscious. Right? And we get a little bit closer to love by hearing about this kind of love. And then someday, you come to a point in your devotional service where you're hearing these pastimes and you think, I want that kind of love that Radharani has, or Yasoda has, or Sudama has, or Raktak has. I want that kind of love. It's just so attractive. I don't want the love of this world. I want that love. That's called Raganuga Bhakti. I want that so much. And you're always thinking about that resident of Braj, and what are they feeling, what are they experiencing, and you want that mood. That's Raganuga Bhakti, you know. So when you're on that level, then you're beginning to enter the realm, a different realm of devotional service, and entering that, a deeper understanding of what love is. Is that okay? Prabhupada also said it was his duty to increase the love of his disciples. The spiritual master will do the same thing, yes. Bradley says, thank you for the sacred information in Krishna's pastimes. What yuga was this in earth, relative terms? Dwapara Yuga, just before Kali Yuga. Yeah. Anything else? By popular demand, we're going to chant a bhajan, right? The one we were trying to chant last night. You have that, Lila Shakti, on your phone?
Yeah.
What's the name of it? This is a prayer to the spiritual master for mercy. Let me just read the translation first. Do you want to put it over here? O venerable Vaishnava, O ocean of mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. I hold on to your lotus feet. Teach me to control my 6 passions, rectify my 6 faults, bestow upon me the 6 qualities, and offer unto me the 6 kinds of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtan of the holy name. Please bless me by giving me just 1 drop of faith with which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name. Krishna is yours. You have the power to give him to me. I am simply your servant running behind you shouting, Krishna, Krishna. Ahe Vaisnava Thakura Dayara Shagara Edase Karuna Kori. Ahe Vaisnava Thakura Dayara Shagara Edase Karuna Kori. Diya Pada Chaya Shoda He Amanumara Charana Dhori. Diya Pada Chaya Shodha He Ama Tomara Charana Dhori. Chai Begadhami Chai Dosha Shodhi Chai Guna Deho Dashe. Chai Begadhami Chai Dosha Shodhi Chai Guna Deho Dase. Chai Satsanga Deha He Amare Posachi Shangera Ashe. Chai Satsanga Deha He Amare Posachi Shangera Ashe. Ekaki ama nahi paivara Harinama Sankirtane. Ekaki ama nahi paivara Harinama Sankirtane. Tumi kripa kori Shadha bindu diya Deho Krishna namadhane. Tumi kripa kori Shadha bindu diya Deho Krishna namadhane. Krishna shetomar Krishna dite par Tomara shakati ache. Krishna dite gomar Krishna dite paro Tomara shakati ache. Amita Kangala Krishna Krishna boli Amita Kangala, Krishna Krishna Boli, Dayatava Pachi Pachi, Dayatava Pachi Pachi, Ohe Vaisnava Thakura, Dayara Shagara, Edase Koruna Kori. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura, Dayara Shagara, Edase Koruna Kori. So the idea behind this song is that only by the mercy of a Vaishnava can we develop good qualities, overcome our faults, gain strength, carry on the Harinam Sankirtan movement, and ultimately get Krishna. It's not coming from us, it's coming down to us. So we ask for mercy so that we can get the qualifications needed to be a pure devotee of Krishna. And that we beg from the spiritual master, you have Krishna, you can give him to me. I'm running after you, asking you, just like a child will run after his parents if they know they have a candy, and they'll run, give it. So I'm running after you, give me Krishna. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for watching. We'll see you. If you want to watch tomorrow, 2:45 India time, we're going to be talking about the stage of Asakti, which is called attachment. 2:45 p.m. in India. And the class will be held out on the lawn in the Grihast area where we had it last week, in the second back park in the Grihast area if you want to come. That'll be 2:45 to 3:45. And then after that at 4 o'clock or so, there's a question and answer session over at Smith's if you want to come. I guess we can broadcast that also. Somebody out there, donate. I have to pay for this. You see, I have to pay for this time. Oh yeah, and tomorrow morning, Bhagavatam class, 8 o'clock Indian time, yeah, about love. Classes about love and empowerment. Yeah. Bhav. Yeah. Maybe we can get a little closer to love tomorrow. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Go Premanandi. Hari Hari.